Most people grow up hearing, directly or indirectly, that sports are a universal language, something everyone should care about, follow, debate, and emotionally invest in. So when someone doesn't obsess over sports, the assumption is often that something is missing: passion, social connection, excitement, or even normalcy. But psychology paints a very different picture. People who don't care deeply about sports are not less engaged with life. Their minds are simply wired to seek meaning, reward, and identity through different pathways. For many sports fans, teams become an extension of the self, a psychological shortcut to belonging, pride, and shared identity, where victories feel personal and losses feel painful, even though the individual has no direct control over the outcome. Those who don't obsess over sports tend to rely far less on this type of group-based identity. Their sense of who they are is built internally rather than borrowed externally. They define themselves through personal values, skills, ideas, or long-term goals, not through the success or failure of a collective symbol like a team or league. From a neurological perspective, sports are powerful because they trigger dopamine through anticipation, rivalry, uncertainty, and emotional highs, but not every brain is tuned to chase dopamine in that form. Some minds are far more responsive to dopamine released through mastery, learning, deep focus, creative problem solving, or steady progress toward meaningful goals. These individuals often prefer long-term satisfaction over short emotional spikes, which makes the rise and fall rhythm of sports less appealing to them. Another key factor is emotional investment in uncontrollable outcomes. Sports fandom requires caring deeply about results that you cannot influence, and while many people find this thrilling, others experience it as an inefficient emotional trade. People who don't follow sports closely often value agency and predictability. If their actions don't affect the outcome, their brains simply don't reward deep emotional attachment to it. This isn't emotional numbness or apathy, it's a form of emotional efficiency, where mental energy is conserved for areas where effort leads to direct impact. There's also a strong social dimension involved. Loving sports is socially reinforced in many cultures, while not loving them often isn't. Choosing not to engage means being comfortable with moments of social misalignment, such as not joining heated debates, not sharing collective excitement, or not pretending interest just to fit in. Psychologically, this points to stronger internal validation. People who don't obsess over sports are often comfortable standing slightly outside the mainstream, trusting their own interests instead of mirroring the crowd. This comfort with nonconformity often overlaps with independent thinking, where curiosity is directed inward or toward complex systems rather than outward toward mass entertainment. Sports are fast, loud, emotional, and designed for spectacle. And while that intensity is energizing for many, others naturally gravitate toward depth over display. Psychology links this preference to reflective thinking, introspection, and inward attention. These individuals are more likely to enjoy ideas, strategy, philosophy, creativity, or personal growth, finding fulfillment in understanding how things work, rather than reacting to constant stimulation. Importantly, not liking sports does not mean being antisocial, boring, or emotionally flat. Many people who don't care about sports feel deeply, think intensely, and connect meaningfully with others, just through different channels. They may bond over conversations, shared projects, learning, or creative pursuits, rather than shared fandom. Their emotional lives are often quieter on the surface but richer in depth. This psychological profile is also linked to a lower need for external validation. When identity and reward are internally sourced, there's less pressure to participate in popular rituals just because everyone else does. Over time, this creates a mindset that values authenticity over performance and meaning over noise. In a world that constantly pushes trends, collective excitement, and shared distractions, choosing not to obsess over sports can actually reflect a strong sense of self and a clear understanding of where one's attention is best spent. The key truth is that the human mind is not one size fits all. Some brains thrive on competition, rivalry, and shared emotion, while others thrive on depth, control, and internal coherence. Neither is superior, but they are fundamentally different. People who don't obsess over sports are often operating from a psychological framework that prioritizes meaning, agency, and internal reward over spectacle and collective emotion. And this difference is far more common than society admits. If this perspective made you feel understood or perfectly described someone you've struggled to explain, subscribe to the known sense. Because we don't follow trends here. We decode how the mind actually works. And once you start seeing psychology clearly, you can't unsee it.